here's what I predict most Q&As do. They start talking about the script, like where the idea came from. And they get to you about sort of like, well, how did you...
What's wrong with that, John?
There's nothing wrong with starting with the script as a screener. But then they probably get to the director, and then they talk to a specialist who's like, implementing the vision.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that at all.
Okay.
All right, I would like to start with the very first image we see on the screen, which is Nicole Kidman. So it's Nicole Kidman, but it's not Nicole Kidman. She's clearly something profound has happened, and we see the character of Erin Bell. Can you talk to us, Bill, about what it is like to, what is the process between you and Nicole and Karin to figure out what that look is going to be for the character? What is that conversation like?
Okay. Well, hi everybody. Thank you for coming. Well, first and foremost, I hate to bring it back to the script, but first and foremost, you have a conversation with the director about a particular project, the case being Destroyer, and Karin sent me the script and said, this is something that I have Nicole Kidman very interested in doing, and we're going to do this, and she portrays this character, and I'd like you to read it and tell me what you think. So I read the script, and I don't know how many of you have read scripts, but you read a script and you try to project in your mind, me being an artist, a visual art, artist, and you try to project what the movie's going to be, what the actor's going to be. And I know that actor is that character, so I'm going to picture that person in that part. And there have been very few times in my career that I've read a script, Foxcatcher being one. I had a very hard time picturing Nicole Kidman as Belle. Which of course is one of the reasons why I'm probably being called. But then you try to think, in your head, it's like, well, how do we get Nicole to be Belle? What physicalities can you do? So it becomes a conversation with Karin and myself, and then Nicole, who was on the peripheral, she had ideas, she communicated to Karin, and then Karin communicated to me and said, and I said, well, let me play around with some ideas. I have this habit of, I love to sketch things in Photoshop, it's this magical thing where you can, in the old days you would either get an actor and sit them down and do lots of makeup tests, or you would take a photograph of an actor and draw on it, and nowadays you do Photoshop, I can do basically a makeup test in the computer. So, and I've gotten really good at it, and so I did one on Nicole in my head based on Karin's notes, and I'm like, well, this is kind of what I think, and this is the hairstyle we talked about, and I just played around with it, and I thought, well, maybe this looks like, and I did a lot of research of, Karin's basically the mantra was let's try to get Nicole to look like a real woman who's had a hard life, lived a hard life. And the most fascinating thing for me as a makeup artist and a designer was that this movie, the idea that Karin had was let's show what happens to people when they make the wrong choices in their lives. So, you can go online and you can see beautiful people, and 6 months later after drinking or taking drugs, they look like a shell of themselves. So, and she was a cop, and she was law enforcement, what do they look like? How do years of working in that profession, wear down? The military, so I looked at tons of reference. And I came up with an image that I sent off to Karin to look at. And then I didn't hear back.
So, Karin, you get this image, do you send it off to Nicole, or you're just like, oh, this is what's in my head, you don't want to send it to an actor?
Honestly, for me, my memory of getting that image was, oh, here she is.
Okay.
It was that simple for me. I know that it could have been a lot more back and forth.
Well, I'm always expecting a lot of back and forth. I'm used to certain people saying, no, let's just change that, I don't like this, and I don't like that, but and her Karin's one night was, well, maybe it's a little rough, or maybe dial back a little bit, which I did, and then let's see what Nicole says. And then we didn't hear anything for a while.
Well, and it was because she had nothing to say, she loved it.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was like so much.
I think the note was, Nicole already started showing people and said, this is my character.
So the problem is, Photoshop is lovely, but Photoshop isn't what Karin can actually shoot. So what is the process of taking this image you have, flat, and actually working with Nicole? And what are we seeing? So obviously we're seeing stuff on the skin, but is she wearing dental things? How do you create that look?
Okay, so there's, again, being being a makeup artist and being able to do that little digital imagery, there's so many amazing artists in our industry that can create, amazing things. Being a makeup artist, I know exactly what I can create on a person's face. I know how much I can get away with. So I basically drew what I knew I could get away with, and I knew, like Nicole had mentioned, well, maybe a broken nose would be kind of cool. So I added a little, like a broken nose piece that I know I could put on, and one of the things Karin told me was that Nicole had requested, she's not a big fan of sitting in the makeup chair. This is a very viable problem for somebody like myself, who you can come up with the most amazing look for somebody in a movie, but it requires the full assistance of the actor. I mean, God bless Gary Oldman, who committed himself to sitting for 4 hours every day for Darkest Hour, but that was his thing. He knew he had to sit, but Nicole was like, I can't sit very long, so please make it as fast as possible. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what can I do drastically, very quickly? And how can I do it, and what can I do it with? So we came up with the idea of a broken nose, and I knew I could do that very quickly. There are little procedures we have that, it's nowadays, it's like a Band-Aid you're basically putting it on, peeling it off. It's amazing, quick. For the makeup artists in the audience, it's like a little prosthetic rosé transfer, very fast. And then we knew she wanted, it's somebody who hasn't slept, and she wears, this tiredness on her face, and Nicole's face is porcelain perfect. There's not a line, it's tight, beautiful, takes very good care of herself. So I wanted to add, some baggage. I mean, who one of us doesn't have little bags under their eyes? Nicole has none. So I added little eye bags. And then, I wanted to show the age on her face, so I thought, well, I'll just add a little texture to her face. Because again, being a 50-year-old woman, and the character of Belle was actually, ironically, like younger. I think she was like in the late 40s. Still, there are women who have, anybody, man or woman who's had a hard life, they show age very quickly. In their 20s, they can look like they're in their 40s. So I thought, well, she needs rougher texture. So it's kind of easy to give somebody, like, enhance the texture of their skin, with little, like stipple and little texture of makeup.